Netflix is looking to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, or at least they were trying to, because Paramount has stepped in and tried to pull off a hostile takeover. And now we got to fight. So who is about to win, and what is exactly going on here, and what's at stake for all of us? Let's go ahead and break it down. I have taken some notes, and for context, today is Monday, December 8th. Some of this could change by the time that you see this. Most of you could be watching this on Tuesday the 9th, so I'm putting that out there for context. But there are about 10 points. I'm not going to number them, just so you know. But let's start off with the timeline. First, on December 5th, Netflix came out and said, hey, we are coming out, we're going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery for $82.7 billion. We're going to round it up and call it $83 billion. That is a major deal. Number one, it's a lot of money, okay? Two, that encompasses a lot of content. We're talking about Harry Potter, we're talking about DC Comics, that's Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. I'm not going to name the whole Justice League, but I could. Not Justice League Unlimited, but you guys get the point. It also includes Friends, Harry Potter, and most importantly, HBO Max, all under one house, which is already big because it's Netflix. This is the same Netflix that I have been loudly claiming was going to be one of the bigger stocks around July of last year, and your boy was right. Here's where the things start to get interesting. Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix, spoke to the president in advance of this to smooth things over. That is really important because in 2016, AT&T bought Warner Brothers Discovery / HBO and all of these assets, and the president was not happy about that, and the Department of Justice stepped in and tried to slow things down, and they did. It wasn't until 2018 that AT&T was able to buy the company, and it was a sloppy deal, which is why Warner Brothers Discovery is apart from AT&T today and available apparently for sale. Now, as a response, which Netflix says that they were, ready for something like this, Paramount stepped up and said, look, we're going to do a hostile takeover because we offered you $108 billion and you turned us down. They are obviously upset about that. Why is this interesting? Number one is a hostile takeover. I'll explain what that means here in a second. But aside from the fact that it is a hostile takeover, it is who is behind the takeover. There are several parties here. Two, which are most important to me. Number one, it is David Ellison. That's the son of Larry Ellison, who founded Oracle. He is a well-known close ally / friend of the president, which, most businesses done, whether it's a regular job or high-level political position, you tend to buddy up and give some sort of favor to your friends. This would not be very different, at least according to many people, right? That's number one. And also, this is the same person who owns Skydance, which just bought CBS News. The same CBS News that cut a deal with the president over some editing issues earlier this year. We're going to come back to that editing issue and that lawsuit here pretty soon. But a part of that CBS deal is the partners within it. There's a Saudi group that is a part of this deal, and there's also an investment firm that has Jared Kushner's name in it. That is the son-in-law to the president. That makes two, right? You've got a close friend and you've got a son-in-law on one side of the party, and then you got Netflix on the other side. Who do you think the administration is going to side with? That is why this is quite interesting. Now, if you are on the board of directors for Warner Brothers, which one would you take? $108 billion on one side or 83? Many of you are already looking and said, hey, I would just take $108 billion. This is not hard, except it is a little bit more difficult on paper. The reason why the offers are, you could say vastly different if you want, but the reason why the numbers are so far apart is the fact that the $108 billion offer also includes the cable networks. Netflix don't want that. They don't want CNN, they don't want TNT. All they want is the digital stuff, the catalog of Friends, Harry Potter, all of that stuff. You can keep CNN, you can keep TNT. David Ellison, they want it all. That is why that deal is bigger. Also, you have more partners too. That is a concern for the board of directors for Warner Brothers, because when you got more partners, you got more complications. Perhaps regulators could say, hey, we don't want to sell it. We're not going to approve this due to some of the complications, because this does have to be approved and things could fall apart between now and then. So that is another part of this as well. But let's go back to the hostile takeover piece of this, because that is interesting. What is a hostile takeover and why are they even taking this route? So the board of directors initially at least said, no, we're not taking your offer. We're going with Netflix because it is simpler. They basically just giving us cash. We're not doing the private equity and the shady group over here. Y'all just doing a lot. We're just going to take the Netflix money. And in response, Paramount's like, look, we just going to do this our way and just take the company ourselves. What that means is the board of directors are the people who make decisions for the company. You want to do a hostile takeover, there are pretty much two main ways of doing that. Either A, you can convince shareholders, which are people like me and you, if you own shares, I don't, of Warner Brothers Discovery, you can convince them to vote in favor of selling yourself or selling shares to Paramount. You can do that. Or if you are Paramount, you got enough money, you can say, hey, look, we're going to offer you 50% more, or whatever percentage, more than what shares are currently at today. For example, let's say shares are $30 right now. We, Paramount, are going to offer every shareholder $60 a share right now. Sell it to me before Friday. You could do that. It's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you did, you can get enough shares and you are now on the board. And you got enough board seats to get 51%, kick somebody off the board, or make the decisions yourself and say, hey, now that I'm on the board, it's my company and I'm selling it to Paramount. You could do that. Or merge the companies and say, we are Paramount now. You could, in theory, do that. There would be some paperwork and still approvals to be done. That's essentially what a hostile takeover is. You buy up a piece of it or force your way onto the board and push things through the way that you want it to be done. This is also not the first time that this has been done. Comcast tried to do this with Disney in 2004. Obviously, Comcast failed. This does not mean that Paramount will fail or that they will succeed. We don't know at this point in time. Again, I'm doing this on December 8th. We'll see where this saga is going to end up. The question is, what does this mean, and is this a good thing? When you ask that question, it falls into three buckets. Is it good for investors? Is it good for consumers? Is it good for society? Two of those questions I'm well qualified for. One of those I'm just decently qualified for, just straight up opinion. Okay, and that would be the society question. I am not a social scientist. The other ones, I got a degree in econ, I'm a financial advisor, I won awards, right, for everything but society, right? So two of those questions as mentioned. Let's start off with the which one as an investor. As an investor, which one would I choose? I would choose Netflix. Now, I am slightly biased because I do own shares of Netflix. I say slightly because I might not be owning Netflix by the end of the month. Okay, so we'll see how that's going to shake out. I might take my profits and be up out of here, so it's not going to matter for me, right? Netflix expects, according to their website, to close this deal by Q3 of 2026. So it might not matter to me. But right now, I would prefer of the two, I would prefer to go to Netflix because they're not doing the whole cable thing. And if your Netflix, this gives you more of a foothold on content and consolidates power in a way, and that's one less competitor. Imagine a Netflix really from back in the day. This really simplifies things back to the way things used to be. If you really think about it, the unfortunate thing is it's probably going to cost us a bit more, but back in the day there was no Peacock, there was no Paramount, there was no Warner Brothers app or anything like that. It was just Netflix and Hulu, and that was it. Things were simple. Netflix had almost everything you needed. So now, instead of having all these apps, I could go back and watch all the Harry Potter movies, watch all the DC movies, and just have it in one easy, simple place. I mean, even Disney Plus didn't exist. I could sit there and watch all the Marvel movies on Netflix at one point. That was a thing. Now it's not. So I prefer it to be back on Netflix at one spot, and I think that's going to make Netflix a more valuable company. I don't think that's necessarily the case with Paramount, and if I were to compare the subscriber numbers, I think Netflix at least doubles those numbers. Now, that's just my view of it, and again, I may be biased. What does it mean for consumers? On the consumer side, meaning which one do I have to pay for and what's best for our pockets as we're spending, I think they should all be separate. I don't think that it makes sense, or I don't think it's great for us, rather, to have more consolidation because it gives us less choices. And if things get pushed to two sides, what this does is allow Netflix to continue to charge more than what they already are. Think of what's happening now with Netflix. Netflix used to be extremely cheap, now it's getting more expensive, and you are now paying for ads and still continuously paying more. There's going to become a point where you're paying $30, $40, $50 a month for Netflix. It ain't gonna be now, right? But I'm talking 10, 15 years from now as they continue to consolidate, and you're not gonna have another place to go. As these companies continue to grow and break out and consolidate, they are obviously raising the cost. That is what is continuously happening. We have seen this happen. It used to be, $5 from Netflix, then 8, 10, 15, 25, 30. You're going to end up paying $120 just for streaming services, and instead of having 15 of them, which yes is annoying, it's only going to be 3, and you're going to run out of choices of place to go, and you're going to be locked in and niched into just those few choices. The problem with that is it's going to become similar to the airline industry. You don't have a choice, really. It is Delta, American, Southwest, JetBlue maybe, because we don't care about Spirit and Frontier. We don't. Flying garbage cans do not count. They don't. Or a better example is perhaps the cell phone industry. You have, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And many of the sub carriers like Visible or Mint Mobile, or if you read the fine print, it says we run on AT&T's network. We run on Verizon's network. So they're the same thing. You running all into the same carriers, which means they all charge the same amount, and if one goes up, they all go up together, and you are still paying the same amount, and there's no innovation, there's no way to truly break out of those spaces. You are stuck. That doesn't help anybody, truly, and there's no innovation, no true competition. I'm not sure if that is a great thing for consumers in general. Then you have the society piece. Now, this is the one I'm least qualified for, so feel free to truly disagree here, but I feel better for it going to Netflix because they are not taking the cable networks. The reason why I say this is because there was the issue with CBS and the president and the lawsuit earlier this year, and we've already had some beef between the administration and news networks. Now, Netflix buying Harry Potter and DC and stuff that's already been made and making more movies, I don't think that matters as much for society, right? I don't, movies are going to be movies, and hopefully there's continuous great entertainment. But I think how we cover the news and the information we get on a day-to-day about what's happening, what's being reported, I think that's more important, and that we tell the truth about what's going on, I think is extremely important. I think that's more important than the next Marvel movie. And y'all know I'm going to be there for the next Marvel movie, right? But we saw what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. We've seen the lawsuit that occurred. If Paramount also gets TNT and CNN, you got CNN and CBS, two major news networks, under the same house, which is already kind of bent their will towards the administration due to a lawsuit, that feels dangerous. Because that is a lot of market share under a house, under an ownership, which we know has already had a heavy hand on what type of content has been produced, and has a bend towards, hey, we have heard what the administration said, we've been sued, and we've started to cut people and do things to be under the will of what's going on. That's not great. We have saw again what happened to ABC and the freedom of speech towards the government, which is what the First Amendment is truly about. That don't feel great for society. Okay, I'm not a social scientist, but I did read the Constitution. There's that. Okay, so that's just the society piece. But hey, I'm only a financial advisor. I only got my degree in economics, so there's that. Okay, that is my concern for the society piece. But if you want to dig deeper into what's going on in the economy and the stock market so you can see it clearly, that is what the Building Bread Brief is for, where every 2 weeks I dig deep into the details on what is going on with the biggest stories. You can go to buildingbread.com/news if you want to look more into it. Again, it is a very fun email that I do drop. Also, if you want to learn more about what's going on in the stock market right now, you can check out these videos right here.